currently without power. This is a challenge, obviously, here in our home, but also all over the state. It's clear that this weather event is so extreme, almost beyond imagination. This is the time when the whole community really needs to pull together and to come together. You're going to hear in just a moment how the city is expanding shelters and providing additional services. That'll be covered here in a second, but I just want to tell everybody that we need your help too. We need everybody to conserve, and you'll hear about that, to stay warm. But we also need for folks to take and help their neighbors. Call neighbors that around you that you're older or might be in need. Call your family members, make sure everybody's doing okay. There are also some community organizations that are reaching out and called the Love Thy Neighbor TX campaign. That's Love Thy Neighbor TX campaign. Accept monetary donations. They're putting together a hotel voucher effort, which certainly would be really useful to many of our neighbors this evening. The website is aaul.org, which is the Austin Area Urban League.org. Organizers have established safe methods to be able to accept monetary donations from the community. This is one of those things that happens once in several generations that's really is going to require us all to pull together and to help one another. And to that end, I think that we'll hear from some of the government folks, the city and the county, to talk about what's happening there.
It looks like we have the Travis County Judge back online. So Judge, I'll hand it back off to you so you can get your comments in.
Thanks so much. So yeah, like so many of you, I've actually been with
It looks like the judge is still having some technical issues. So with that, I will hand it off to Austin City Manager for some comments.
Thank you. And as the mayor said, this has truly been an unprecedented event. And I want to start by thanking all of the employees and first responders who are working tirelessly to keep our operations running and helping our community through as we get through this extreme weather event. As a city, we are doing our best to help those in the greatest need. We have received numerous offers to help, including from our faith-based community, nonprofits, and community groups, and we want to thank all of those who have stepped up to offer support. We have an amazing team and community members that are doing incredible work under very challenging circumstances, and we appreciate everyone's patience. As the mayor said, we're all in this together, and it's going to take all of us standing with each other, helping our neighbors to get through this. Austinites and our first responders is to stay off the roads and conserve energy. Every little bit helps. Now to turn into more of the operational issues, I'm going to ask Juan Ortiz with our Joint Emergency Management Center to provide some details. Juan?
Thank you, Manager Spencer. First of all, I want to let everybody know that we are not having any impacts to 911 operations. And we're still asking the public to please keep 911 open for immediate emergencies only. We are having some technical difficulties with 311 and the austintexas.gov website, which are currently down due to technical and power issues. Currently, we have We have opened up a warming center that is open at the Palmer Event Center. You can show up at any time. From there, individuals will be routed to additional shelters if necessary and if driving conditions permit it to happen safely. We have currently today, as of this morning, we have the cold weather shelters remain active throughout the day. And as of this morning, we have 282 people that were sheltered overnight at the cold weather shelters and the Palmer Event Center. We're asking all to help first responders and only drive if they really need to be on the roads, and give themselves plenty of time to get to the destinations. And please drive slowly. The roads are still very treacherous, and you can very easily be fooled with the limited visibilities of all the snow and ice that we have on the roads right now, and can get trapped, which would then put first responders in harm's way as they have to go out and potentially have to rescue you from those situations. So again, we want to ask everybody to please stay off the roads as much as they possibly can. Monitor the news and other city, social, and county media channels. We will be using those to make sure that we're relaying as much of the information as we can when we have it, and if necessary, be able to pass on to you actions that you can take to protect yourselves and your family. We urge residents to, again, I want to reiterate the same message of urging the residents and everybody to conserve as much power as possible to help with the emergency issues. And Austin Energy will follow my remarks to further discuss the rotating outages. We are working with critical facilities like hospitals and other critical locations to ensure that the access to those facilities remains open, to ensure that ambulances are able to access those emergency rooms, ramps, and make sure that those locations are completely accessible in the event that we have to transport medical personnel to those locations. If you need, that's the end of my remarks.
Thank you very much, Juan. And before we jump over to Austin Energy, I see we have Judge Brown back, so I definitely want to give him an opportunity to try again and see if this will work.
All right, how's this? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thanks. Yeah, so as I was saying, the power's still off at my house, so I'm doing this from my car without really a good internet connection. It's been off since about 2 a.m. today, so I think that there's a lot of people, a lot of us in the same boat here in Austin and Travis County. But I do know that the electric companies and the providers of energy in the county and the city are doing everything they can to get it back online so that we have power in our house. And just want to echo what everybody else said about definitely stay in your house if at all possible, unless there's some kind of emergency, because the roads are extremely dangerous. I also want to take a second just to thank all the first responders. I was up at the Emergency Operations Center last night with Juan and Eric and others until about 1 a.m. And the work that they're doing is amazing. They're able to connect, as one example, one subdivision in eastern Travis County that they'd run out of propane basically in their subdivision. And through the work of the city, Molly with the city was able to get a sand truck to lead a propane truck to fill that back up. And so there's really amazing work going on by our first responders, by everyone at the city and the county. And the best thing that we can do is, that you can do is stay home and not create any additional work for them, frankly, on the roads today. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. And at this time, I will pass it off to Austin Energy General Manager Jacqueline Sargent.
Thank you. As the general manager, I want all of our customers to know how concerned we are about you during this unprecedented weather emergency. As you know, this is a statewide event causing a Texas electric grid emergency and a very urgent call for energy conservation. We know that not having power is extremely frustrating and unnerving, uncomfortable, and we want our customers to know that we are doing everything that we can to work through this ongoing and fluid situation. We strongly urge our customers that still have power to greatly reduce the amount of energy that they are using to help conserve as much as possible. Here's some of the things that you can do to help. Turn down your thermostats, close your blinds, turn off and unplug devices that are not needed. Every little bit that you can do will help us. Austin Energy is part of the ERCOT wholesale market. We work in concert with ERCOT to prepare for energy emergencies. We have plans in place, and we take direction from ERCOT. And the things that we do are helping to strengthen and maintain the Texas grid. With everyone's help, hopefully we can work together and reduce demand enough so that we can get power back on to our customers. We have scheduled circuits that do not contain critical load. Critical load consists of things like hospitals, control centers, fire stations, water treatment facilities. And so we need to maintain electricity to those places. And then we have a sequence of circuits that we disconnect so that we can lower the demand on the system. This event happened quickly, and the amount of load that we needed to remove from the grid was significant, and it was in just a matter of a very short time that we maxed out on all of the available circuits that we have to disconnect and not interrupt critical load. So because we're at that max limit, there's no more energy that we can shut off at this time so that we can bring these customers back on. And that's why it's so important that we do come together as a community and help each other during this very unprecedented time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, so much for those remarks. At this time, I'm going to open it up for media questions. I'm going to hand it over to our poll reporter, Bridget Spencer with Fox 7 News.
Hey, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. First question here is from KUT. How can people without power get to a warming center if everyone is being asked to stay off the roads? Any recommendations for those people without power?
Yes, that's a really good question. And that's why it's important that if you need to get to a warming center, make the decision now, get out and go to the Palmer Event Center while there's still daylight. And if you need to be on the roads, that way the daylight will help you get there in a safe manner. If you wait, it's going to just get more complicated in the dark and puts you at risk. That's why we're saying, to stay off the roads unless you really have to, and getting to the Palmer Event Center because you need to stay warm. That's obviously that's something that is necessary. But if you need to do so, go ahead and come on now while there's still plenty of daylight.
Thank you. Next question is from the Austin Chronicle. What's being done to make sure unhoused people have shelter? Are admissions into pro lodges being accelerated, or are there other options being considered?
The city has an existing cold weather shelter plan that has been in existence for many, many years. And it's a collaboration between the city and the county and the countless organizations that on a daily basis work to ensure that we have services for those persons that are experiencing homelessness. This plan traditionally is centered to provide services for overnight sheltering. Because of this unique situation, a decision was made several days ago to extend the program and provide the service 24 hours a day. And to ensure that we are providing those services, adhering to the social distancing requirements that we're living in during this COVID-19 pandemic that the entire world is suffering. Obviously, that introduces some challenges to the process. So we're having to ensure that we evaluate the proper capacity and assess it to meet those COVID-19 requirements. And it has required us to open up additional facilities to ensure that we have plenty of space to meet the need. Like I indicated before, overnight, we were able to support 282 individuals that came in and were processed. We still have space remaining, and we're opening up additional space, and we're coordinating that. It's going to be coordinated through the Palmer Event Center facility that we have there. And we're working with countless organizations to expand those capacities to ensure that if anybody that needs a place to come in and stay warm, they have a place. And we're working with Capital Metro to see what can be done to ensure that we have the ability to move those persons that need to stay warm to the proper locations, even though that they're having challenges right now with limited services due to the current weather conditions that we are experiencing.
Hey, Juan, is that number, the 512-305 ICEE, operating and active for information about warming and cold weather shelters?
Yes, Mayor, that number is should be up and running, and we have we're working with our the Austin Travis County EMS services to make sure that we're coordinating with all of the members that are of the organizations that traditionally work with persons that are experiencing homelessness.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from CBS Austin. What percentage of Austin Energy outages are caused by ERCOT, and what are other local problems? And when do you expect to have these issues resolved? This morning, ERCOT said outages are being caused by local generation transmission owners having problems keeping up with and lowering demand, overwhelming the systems.
So we have some, this is Jackie Sargent again with Austin Energy. We have some situations where we've had some outages, and we are including that in our load shed requirements. So right now that is all wrapped together to meet those obligations that we have for the rotating outages that ERCOT has directed us to do. We are standing ready. Our crews are prepared. We are working on infrastructure, and we are working to do that safely in these very extreme conditions. Our folks have been working around the clock. I can't break out a percentage of any specific load that I can identify to a non-event outage at this time. But we are aware of where our system is at, and we are operating within the constraints and the direction of ERCOT. ERCOT has said that based on what they are looking at, that this situation is likely to continue through the night and possibly into the afternoon tomorrow. So it depends on what we do as consumers in managing our load, our consumption of electricity, and the more that we can do to conserve, the more we can help our neighbors. And then also making sure that our resources are operating appropriately. And Austin Energy has staffing 24/7. We have people that are staying in our facilities to make sure that we can continue to operate, and we are doing everything possible to help manage this situation.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from the Statesman. How many exposure-related calls have Austin first responders gotten? And can you give some examples? Have any exposure-related deaths been reported as well?
I don't have that information at this point in time, but I can ask the Austin Travis County EMS and can provide that information after the call.
Thank you. Next question from KVUE. What is Austin Energy's goal for having power restored to all? Is it too early to predict?
I would say right now it's too early to predict, and that we are in this event. It is a statewide event, and we are currently operating under direction from ERCOT, the grid operator. And so we will have to follow those directions, and we're waiting for that direction from ERCOT to be able to restore power to our customers. As I said previously, ERCOT is saying that this situation could continue through the evening and possibly into tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Austin Monitor. Was there a plan to deal with loss of power for 311 and the city website? How do you intend to deal with this situation in the future?
Could you repeat that question?
Sure. Was there a plan to deal with the loss of power for 311 and the city's website? How do you intend to deal with this situation in the future?
So 311 is being impacted not by a loss of power, but by some technology challenges that are happening. We are working with our utility contact center to back up that resource, and we will continue to see what can be done to mitigate that. We are working in conjunction with the city's IT folks, and they are working very diligently to restore those services, both the web services and the 311 center, contact center. Juan, I don't know if you have anything that you can add to that for us.
After every disaster that our community experiences, we actually go through a very rigorous after action review process and identify ways that we can prevent these types of impacts from happening. Once this event is over, we will be conducting an after action and identifying protective actions that we will be engaging with the different departments in the city and the county to ensure that anything that we can do to strengthen and make our community more resilient, we will, those are addressed. Again, this is our, unprecedented events that we have not experienced in probably 30 to 40 years. And so there's some things that were not that didn't exist back in the early 1980s when we had an event similar to this that now do exist. And so there's some things that we're going to learn, and we are committed to ensuring that we identify those and make sure that we set the right teams to address them and complete those corrective actions.
Thank you very much. Austonia has the next question. Is there any indication that energy customers are heeding the call to conserve power?
We are making those requests. We have reached out to specific groups of customers, and they are responding by conserving. And the things that I talked about earlier that individuals can do, such as lowering your thermostats and closing your blinds and unplugging devices that are not currently being used, will help us. We cannot measure each individual's contributions at that small a scale, but collectively, it will help us to better manage the current situation.
Thank you. Next question is from us here at Fox 7. It appears that South Austin seems to be bearing the brunt of the blackouts. Is that the case? And if so, why is that?
That is not the case. The outages are across the system, and they are designated by specific circuits. And those circuits, if you look at the outage map, are across our service territory.
Yeah, for whatever it's worth, I'm in Hyde Park and my power's been off since 2. So, and I think the whole, at least part of, it's everything sort of west of Duval, as best I can tell, in that area has been out up until, I think, over to like Lamar or something.
And
Okay, thank you.
Those circuits.
Sorry, did I interrupt you? Go ahead.
I was just going to add that those are part of the circuits that we were instructed by ERCOT to turn off as part of response to this event. And as we added all those circuits, we got to the point where we hit all of them, so we couldn't drop we couldn't drop additional load to go back and start picking up and rotating through. So we got to that maximum point, and it's basically we're stuck here until we can get some reprieve from ERCOT and can start releasing some of those circuits and then work into rotating those outages. So it's a tough situation. We understand that. We're doing everything we can to get people to get to a place where we can get people's power back on.
Thank you. Next question is from Community Impact. With more cold temperatures and precipitation in the forecast later this week, is there a chance once power is restored, it will have to be reduced again? And what steps are being taken to improve events in the future?
So that is a possible outcome that could occur. There are a number of things. If we see this continuously across the entire footprint of the ERCOT grid across our state, then it is likely that we'll continue to have challenges to be able to meet the demand. And so asking customers to conserve is something that's going to be and continue to be very critical. With additional weather events, especially moisture in these freezing temperatures, we get buildup of ice on vegetation, trees, on power lines, on equipment that we have, and that causes, in the case of trees, branches to break off, fall, either come in contact with power lines, actually in some cases pull those power lines down and create outages in areas. And some of those areas are very challenging to get to. We saw that in the northwest area of our service territory, where we have canyons and we have a great deal of vegetation, and we had to get crews into those locations. And with the icy conditions, that makes it very challenging. And for people working, tirelessly around the clock to be out in those elements and get that power restored. But our folks are ready to do that. They're committed to doing that, and they like to see the lights on, and we want to do that for our customers. So I would say continue to watch and monitor these conditions. Do what you can to be prepared and have those resources that you need available, because we cannot say for sure that this won't continue to go on and continue to happen. It is going to be very dependent on what happens within the state, within ERCOT, and then more specifically in our own service territory here in Austin.
Next question is from KXAN. Are people without running water because of this storm? How many, and what is the city or county doing to help?
My understanding from the water department is that they have had a few water main breaks, but nothing that has resulted in any major loss of water. My understanding is that all of those are being addressed in a timely manner, but I will, after the call, we'll get you more detailed information on that.
And this looks like the last question from where are they located?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How many shelters does the city currently have, and where are they located?
We currently have 4 cold weather shelters that are open and are running, and plus a warming center that is also functioning as a shelter. We are coordinating all. We're distributing the persons that need to be sheltered to the different shelters through the Palmer Event Center. So for that reason, we're not disclosing the locations of all of the shelters, but we are using facilities we've used in the past in a manner that allows us to make sure that we have a control of how the people are coming in, and make sure that we have the adequate level of resources at each location. We're also, and what I can say is that they're spread out throughout the city. We're also looking at other 3 additional potential locations. Excuse me, actually 4 additional potential locations, and they have different varying capacity. But we feel that by the end of today, we will have approximately 450 spaces available, and which is doubling more what our current occupancy is. And we'll be gauging that, and we'll be expanding and opening up additional centers if that is required. Also, along those lines, some of the things to kind of gauge what the need is in the community. Last night, we put together a task force between the city and the county, and mobilized a task force consisting of Austin Police, Austin Fire, and Austin Travis County EMS, and the Austin Parks and Recs Department. With public officials, went out to 45 encampments and offered rides to cold weather shelters, to the people experiencing homelessness and anybody else that they encountered, and to ensure that they were aware and make sure that transportation was not going to be an issue. And those operations continued all the way till about 6 this morning. We'll be reevaluating that and making sure that we, that if necessary, engage those activities again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bridget. And with this, I'll turn it back over to, do we still have Judge Brown on? Judge Brown, if you're still on, I'll turn it back over to you for some closing comments.
Thanks. I don't know if my video is working, but I think just want to thank everybody, especially all the first responders, for their work. And also, I believe that we may be asking people tomorrow morning if they do have power and if they are trying to go, to work or take a shower in the morning. I believe that there's some request that maybe people take showers tonight so that we aren't all using hot water and gas first thing in the morning tomorrow. So if there's a way to accommodate for that and not, at the first thing, crack of dawn tomorrow, I think about the hours from maybe 7 to 10 a.m., not overload the usage of gas is a message that I had received as well. But overall, I want to thank Juan and Eric and everybody at the Emergency Operations Center for all of their work for these past few days.
Mr. Mayor?
in the judge. I want to join in the judge in thanking the first responders, all the volunteers, but also all the community groups that are engaged at this point. This is truly an absolutely unprecedented perfect storm. And we're all in this together. We're going to have to hang together. Know that there are 2 million people across the state of Texas dealing with this very same thing. Folks are working really hard to try and get power back on, but it could be a while. You know, there's a phone number to call if you're looking for a warmer place to be, 512-305 ICE, that's ICEE, 512-305 ICEE. The safest place you can be is to stay in your house, to stay warm. If you can't and you have to go out, try that number. You can go to the Palmer Events Center. That's one place to go. And if there's a better place for you to be, though, they have services there and they can get you to a warmer, better place. Know that there are a lot of people in the community that are helping. I'll just repeat again. AAUL, that's the Austin Area Urban League.org, AAUL.org. The Love Thy Neighbor Texas campaign, accepting monetary donations for things like hotel vouchers. If you want to donate a warm blanket, Front Steps is accepting those at their downtown location, or you can even order a blanket online and have it shipped to them directly. The food bank is closed today, but if you're in need of food, dial 211 or 211texas.org. This is one of those times when it's not just the government, it's all the charitable and service organizations, it's everybody calling their neighbors, especially if they're elderly. We're all in this together, and we're going to take it one moment at a time. Be safe.
Thank you very much. This concludes our media briefing on the cold weather events that have impacted our city. We remind everyone to, I'm sorry, I just got a message. City Manager Spencer Kronk, I believe you had some closing comments as well.
Sure. Just want to really appreciate again everyone in our community that's leaning in to not only ensure that they are keeping themselves and their families safe, but keeping their neighbors safe. As we know, this is impacting every corner of our state, but it's also impacting the corners of our neighborhood and the corners of our homes. And so the more that we can look to our neighbor and find out what assistance we can be providing them, the better off we're going to be collectively. So thank you to everyone that's really leaning into this and ensuring that we're all in this together. I also want to just appreciate the first responders and all the city employees, the county employees that are really working around the clock to keep us safe. It's a once in a generation event, and we will get through it, and we will get through it together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, everyone, this actually does now conclude our media briefing. Again, we remind everyone to continue to follow city and county social media channels for further updates and changing information. Thank you again, everybody.